podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. It is Sunday, January 31st. My name is Rob Dauster. That gentleman you see next to me is the one and only Deshaun Butler, former West Virginia All-American, current co-host of mine. Deshaun, how you doing, sir?
I am good, my guy. Just, watching a little Royal Rumble downstairs with the kids. So that's going on. Had a good day, bro. Watched a little teeny bit of basketball. Wasn't much going on today, but I had a lot of basketball yesterday, so I'm cool. My weekend's been going pretty well. What about you?
Yeah, I watched some of the Michigan-Ohio State game today, but Michigan State is not very good, and they got kind of run out the gym there, and then there wasn't really much else. I was going to watch St. John's Marquette, but then I realized St. John's is terrible. Marquette's not very good. I was good with that. And St. John's, by the way, they're not terrible. They actually might be pretty good. They get the Champagne kid is him and his twin brother at Pitt. That's a story that people are not really talking much about. It's there's two twins that are just killing it, and no one talks about them at all. But
I promise you, I literally read the stats for one game, and I was like, these can't be the same. I was like, I swear I saw the stat line Pitt. I was like, it can't be the same guy.
I know that name, right?
I've seen it too many times, and it's rare to see two names. It's not even a common name. It's rare to see two names.
I'm pretty sure it's Champagne too, and it's not just Champagne.
Champagne.
But I will never say their first names, either of them, because I can't keep a track. I don't know which. I'm pretty sure there's a Justin and a Julian.
Justin. I think Justin goes to Pitt.
Oh, see, I thought Justin went to St. John's.
Hold on a second. See, now you're gonna make me look it up just to make sure.
You might be right. If you feel good about it, then I'll roll with you. But I don't even bother, because what's gonna happen is you're gonna tell me, but then I'm gonna get it in my head, and I'm just gonna, every time I say it, I'm gonna be like, no, that's wrong, and then I'm gonna get it wrong when I actually say it. It's Justin's Pitt. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still never going to remember it. Still never going to say their name, so I don't get it wrong. Yeah. It's like that for me with Hinkle Fieldhouse and Hilton Coliseum. Hilton is the Iowa State one. Hinkle is the Butler one. But whenever I'm saying it, I always I catch myself, and I'm like, oh shit, you got to get it right. You got to get it right. And then I get nervous and I end up saying the wrong one. I've done that probably a good 15 or 20 times. And it just drives me crazy. I just can't keep track of them.
Don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. All right. Don't beat yourself up.
All right. So we have a lot to talk about with the SEC Big 12 Challenge that happened on Saturday. Things are starting to shake up a little bit in the ACC, and we definitely have to get to that. There were some weird goaltending calls, and Deshaun, I got a rant for you ready to go, because I'm fired up about this. But I want to start with something that happened with Fran McCaffery on Friday night after the game. I'm going to play you guys the audio right here, just so you can hear it and kind of see what happened, so you could take it in for yourselves. But just give this a listen, and we're gonna talk about this in a second.
Jordan has 15 points combined in 4 losses this season. Am I reading too much into that, or is there something to that?
I don't know.
Next question. Don Doxey, go ahead.
Yeah, Frank, can you talk a little bit about the goaltending call that they took away?
I can't.
What exactly did they tell you there?
I can't.
Chad Lysico.
Just to clarify for us, Fran, what is the rule on that goaltending situation? The whistle stops everything, no matter who.
Apparently.
Okay. And then on the free throws, you got in the bonus with 10 minutes to go, and I don't think you shot another free throw after that. Was that a product?
Really interesting, Chad. A great observation by you. You're a smart guy. You really are a smart guy. Either that, or I guess I got to do a much better job of getting Luka Garza to the free throw line. Apparently, I'm just a horrendous coach. Shoots one free throw. That's my fault. I'll take full blame for that.
So, Deshaun, Frank got a little bit of stick for that, and I don't necessarily think what happened there was all that bad. And I think that it had a lot to do with what his reputation is as a coach and the way that he's treated people in the past. But to me, that was a coach that was incredibly frustrated about a call, and we'll get to the call in a second, that went against his team. That probably was, I would argue, the wrong call to make. And it may or may not have cost his team a win. Like, it certainly cost them a chance at stealing a win down the stretch. So, I guess what do you make of what he said, how he said it, and what he said, and the guy that he said it to?
First and foremost, it's always important to have a form of professionalism. So I get where everybody's coming from when they're after Fran, but he didn't. I just see, like you just said, because he's very frustrated at what happened during the game and how the game unfolded at the very end. He was, I wouldn't say distraught, because he didn't look that distraught, but he was upset, definitely. And I mean, he reacted the way he did. I didn't see any harm in how he reacted. He didn't disrespect anybody or call anybody out of their name. I would say, he was very short and got it done so he can get back to being frustrated on his own, as opposed to, making the rest of the media and lashing out in the open, like we don't want our coaches to do. I mean, so I can't really knock him for how he handled it. It's just like, it wasn't the best way, but it's not like the worst way where we need to drag him through the mud.
Yeah, he was very sarcastic in what he said, specifically to the reporter, to Chad, when he was talking about the free throws. Yeah. But you have to kind of understand what their relationship is, right? Like, if they have a relationship where they can kind of break each other's balls like that, then I don't think that it's necessarily wrong. Like, I want to read the tweet from Chad. I'm going to butcher this, Chad. So if you listen, I'm sorry. I apologize. But Leistokow, I think is how you pronounce it. He works for the Des Moines Register and the Press Citizen. So he's basically he's an Iowa beat writer for the local paper. And
they've met.
They know each other very well.
Exactly.
And this is what he had to say afterwards. He put this on Twitter. He said he is biting his tongue as best he can, and 100% he was finding a way to articulate his frustration with how the game was officiated. He and I have a good professional relationship, and there was zero disrespect toward me. I liked the answer. So I think that that's really important. We talk about this. We've talked about this before, but so much of when it comes to things like harassment and things like bullying and things of this nature, where a coach, you want to call him an asshole for the way he treats somebody, so much of it is in the way that the person on the receiving end views it. Yeah. So if you didn't know, like us, right? And I come out here and I break your balls and I say some things, and I kind of get on you a little bit. You can take it, you can handle it. It's a joke. It's all in love, right? The same thing with Chad and Fran in this situation is what it seems like from the outside. I don't know Chad all that well. I've spoken to Fran enough times that I think he knows who I am, but I think that might be the extent of it. But from what I can tell with him is he does not have a problem. Like, if you want to be sarcastic with him, he'll come right back at you. That just seems like who he is. So I think that it's getting a little overblown. And the big thing is that man is trying to watch out for his pocketbook. So watch out for his bank account and make sure that he doesn't get fined for saying what he really thinks about the way that game was officiated and the goaltending call at the end of that game.
Yeah, most definitely. There was no more to it. Yeah, I couldn't really find it. I'm trying to play back everything I heard, and I just can't find a thing that was done out of malice or just something that was so bad that you needed to drag him through the dirt.
Yeah. So I think the big problem was the first time the video got tweeted out, it got cut off where he said, "You're a smart guy, Chad." Yeah. And didn't actually they didn't show the rest of the answer to the question. So it just if that's the way they edited it, it looks a lot worse than what it actually.
Not to mention, I thought you brought it up a little bit ago, just saying how he's perceived. Mm-hmm. He's perceived as the straight edge, everything by the book. He doesn't really. I mean, the closer people probably know how his personality and his sense of humor and how he goes back and forth, but the masses don't. They just see him as a straight edge guy. So I mean, I can see how they would take that out of context and just think, oh, well, he's being a dick. Like, so it is what you can't please everybody.
Yeah, and when your reputation is the guy that like breaks clipboards and throws chairs and gets technical fouls and gets thrown out of games and
This is
cusses
nothing.
people out.
This
Yeah,
is nothing.
This it's not just nothing, but like the smallest thing will get people like, oh, here goes Fran again.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, Mount McCaffery is about to explode. When in reality, like he's not pissed at the media. He's not pissed at Chad for the question. Like, he's pissed about his team. You know, and when he's talking about not getting to the line, like he's taking shots at referees that aren't calling fouls. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do want to talk about the goaltend because you've seen the replay, right?
Yeah, I saw the clip. Saw it like 2 or 3 times.
I was watching it live. And as someone that had money on Illinois -2, this was not a bad thing for me personally, but the way this played out. So what happened was Iowa is down by 4. There's a minute and 6 seconds left on the clock. Joe
72-76, something like that.
76-72. Illinois is up. Joe Wieskamp drives to the basket, goes up, tries to finish a shot at the rim. Kofi Coburn blocks it. It bounces off the glass, comes right back to Joe Wieskamp, who immediately tips it in. Like he literally, like he goes right back up in the air, second jump, tips it right back in. They score. The play's blown dead because they ruled that Kofi Coburn's block was a goaltend. So they basically counted the first basket, right? And so like in the end, it doesn't really matter because it's like 2 points is 2 points is 2 points. So who cares what happens? But they go back to the monitor, they review it, and they determine that Kofi Coburn's shot was not a goaltend. And in fact, it was a good block. But as soon as you do that, as soon as that whistle blows, right, to call the goaltend, plays dead. Plays over. So that tip-in from Joe Wieskamp doesn't count, which means that instead of being down 2 with a minute and 6 seconds left and having a chance to get a stop to get the ball back to tie or take the lead, you have to take the ball out of bounds underneath, go up against a set defense and try to score again, and you're down 4 and you get to burn clock, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that necessarily changes the outcome of the game, but it certainly put Iowa in a position where like it's much, much, much more difficult for them to win.
Facts.
So I understand why he's wrong. The other one that happened was on Saturday night, and this one was even more egregious. And this one pisses me off because it's just like, what the fuck are we doing with this call? So Kamani Lawrence on Arizona State gets a pass in the lane, right? Stanford is up 75-74 at Arizona State. There's 45 seconds left. Kamani Lawrence, who's on Arizona State, gets the ball on the baseline, goes up for a reverse layup, gets fouled. The ball gets knocked off of the backboard on the opposite side of the backboard and comes directly off, right? Going away from the rim. There's a less than 0 chance of this shot ever getting anywhere near the rim, right? Yeah. It's already below the rim level, and it was bounced off like the side of the, not the side of the backboard, but like outside the box.
It was outside the box. Like it was on the backboard. I hated that.
Yeah. And so what happens was
terrible situation. But go ahead.
Yeah. So that ball comes off the backboard. Like he gets fouled. He misses the shot. It comes directly straight back off the backboard, straight towards the foul line. And somebody on Stanford, like smacks it out of bounds, hits the ball. No one reacts to it. No one says anything. They go back and they review it, and they determine that it is a goaltend, right? Because by the letter of the law, a shot that comes off the backboard and has not yet like hit the ground is still a shot or whatever, like whatever, however you want to define it. By the letter of the law, that is a goaltend. And they instead of sending a 56% foul shooter to the line down by 1 with 40 seconds left, where he has to hit both to put his team in the lead, they give Arizona State the lead, call it an and 1, and send them to the line for 1 shot for a chance to go up by 2. Now that one significantly impacted the outcome of that game. I think. I think that Stanford is probably the favorite to win that game because they're most likely they're going to get the ball with the score tied. Yeah. Right. Coming back down. So instead of having to score to try to take the lead, score to try to tie the game, down by 2, you're scoring to try to take the lead. You have an option to go like 2 for 1 to try to win the game. Like it opens everything up for you to do, but they didn't get that option because that ball was called a goaltend. Now, the reason why, do you know why we're allowed to go back and review goaltends?
To make sure they're goaltenders, I would assume.
Well, so the reason, but the reason why this rule was put into place was in 2019 in February. There was a play. It was LSU was at Rupp Arena, was at Kentucky. Game was tied at 71. LSU has the ball. Skylar Mays drives to the basket, goes up, throws a floater off the backboard. It has no chance of going in. Fires, rockets off the backboard, hits the front of the rim, bounces up. Cavell Bigby Williams on LSU comes in, tips the ball in at the buzzer. LSU wins, right? So they go back and they review it to make sure that like the tip in came before the buzzer. And like it was like he tipped it in at like 0.4 seconds. It was very clearly he got it off in time. But you could see upon the review that like it was a goaltend. It was basket interference. That ball was like within the cylinder. But they couldn't go back and make the right call because of what the letter of the law was. Well, this is the same shit that's happening right now. So John Calipari complained about it. He's like, why can't we get the call right if we're able to look at it? So they changed that rule that summer. And now we're going back. And because these guys are allowed to go and look at the monitors to make these reviews, we are getting calls wrong because they're able to go back and review it, right? Like the wrong call was made for Iowa, right? They should have had those 2 points and that ball should have been Illinois. Everybody that knows, that has ever played basketball, has ever watched basketball, has ever coached basketball, has ever been a fan of basketball knows that that's how it goes, right? Like that's 2 points. I think everybody agrees that that's 2 points. The Arizona State one, like what the fuck are we doing? That is what gets overturned. A shot that has absolutely no chance of going in because it's a letter of the law. When these guys are looking at this and they know what the right call is, but they're not allowed to do it. It's the same fucking thing. And going back and setting up all these reviews, like, yes, I understand that we now have the technology where we are able to determine what is the right call down to like the frame, down to the millisecond. We have like HD tablets that can get sent like one frame zoomed in to like 100 times to be able to see exactly what happens in exactly that millimeter. And oh, his shoelace was touching out of bounds, so technically he was out of bounds, so we got to overturn this call. I get it, right? It's great that we have that technology and we can get calls right, but like this is extra. We should not be doing like in a situation where referees are changing the outcomes of games for things that are like every single person that's ever played basketball in the recorded history of the sport knows that that's the wrong call. It drives me up the wall. I'm fired up.
I bet. I see. You had to get that off. You had to get that off your chest. And I had.
Oof.
It's
that was freeing, bro. Oh,
what was it? What line did you have in the Stanford game?
Whoa! Did you see that? did you see what that was? You see what that was? That was a weight off my shoulders.
Honestly, you look like you got.
Hey, you know what? You know what that was? Yeah, that was a dad joke. So look at this.
Hey.
I keep all my dad jokes in a database.
Who got you that shirt? Who got you that shirt?
Exactly. I'm the king. I'm the king of dad jokes. That's why.
Yeah,
I love dad jokes. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I cut you off.
No worries. No. Trust me. I'm with you. But yeah, bro, it sucks. You would think with the technology we have, like you said, when you have the opportunity to make the right decision, you would make it. Like you wouldn't go to like. Obviously, the letter of the law scenario was put there for a purpose, but if they're giving you free reign to make the right decision, like the right basketball play, then you can't have those 2 calls that we saw like this weekend. That was bad.
Yeah,
on all accounts.
I think it's just the unintended byproduct of having this technology and the ability to make these decisions is like you have to have a definition for a rule, right? You have to have you have to have that line drawn in the sand, but it doesn't leave the problem with being able to go back to replay and see exactly what happens is it takes away all interpretation of what that rule is. Like when we have officials making decisions, they're interpreting those rules and they're determining what is the right decision to make instead of what is like the letter of the law down to the millisecond that we can determine with all this technology that we have. It's like, I mean, there's examples of this in like every single sport. Like I'm a huge Tottenham guy. Like you could see right over here. Where is it? Over this shoulder, right
Yeah,
there.
that's what I said.
Yeah, right there. That's the scarf of my favorite soccer team. On Thursday, they played a game against the reigning champions and had a goal ruled out because there was a guy who had like what amounted to a cleat, one of his cleats. Like he was taking a step forward and like the back cleat was offside, and they were able to determine that. Like I could send you the screenshot by like a millimeter with the cameras and the technology that they have. So it was ruled out. They would have been up 1-0. It would have completely changed the face of the game. Instead, they lost 3-1. So like, and no one complained. No, none of the guys on the other team complained. It's like with even with like the whole Des Bryant, did he catch it? Calvin Johnson, like, was it a catch when he caught that touchdown? Like, we see it in every single sport. Davide Moretti, when the ball got tipped off of him in the 2019 title game, remember that? Everybody that's ever played basketball in the recorded history of basketball knows that ball should have been Texas Tech's.
Yeah.
Everybody, like, you played thousands and thousands of games of basketball. Would you ever in your mind think that ball would go back to Virginia in that situation?
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't expect it to, but that's honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm no disrespect to referees, but I'm one of the guys that's like, I'm not pro referee. I feel like referees should have to do interviews after games.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The only reason they don't is because it would go against what the governance would want to happen. But I feel like referees should have to do interviews. It'll keep everybody honest and earnest, and then have everybody has to answer for what they did in the game as a whole. You can't just have like players and coaches answer for things that happen in the game when there's a third party there that makes crucial decisions on what happens in games, and they never speak on what happens. Like I feel like that's like you got to protect the referees as the government, like as the NCAA or as the conference, I guess, whatever it is. But I feel like they should have to interview, like, to explain that.
Let me ask you this: like, did you ever play with replay or with VAR or whatever they call it in your, like, did you ever play with that, or was that?
I'm not sure we had VAR, but we definitely had replay though. We definitely had opportunity. We had things where they look back at the monitor to make sure calls were correct and so on and so forth. Was
it frustrating to have to like sit there for however many seconds waiting for a call to get made?
Nah, not really. I mean, especially like for me, we had those replays were mainly for fouls, like depending on what kind of foul it was. They didn't really have it determine too many out of bounds. That was stuff that they kind of trusted to themselves. But like fouls, depending on if it was like a flagrant or someone did something that was unnecessary. Like, yeah. I mean, it's not that big a deal to wait around to get that. No, I guess nothing. It's like 40 seconds. Like, okay. Yeah. They figure it out. They let the coach know. The coach is either happy or pissed, and then we all go back out on the floor and play.
Did you like playing with replay?
I don't see why not. I mean, at the end of the day, you want the best call you can get. There's some things, obviously, as players, if you do something in the court that you don't want to be replayed because you're in the wrong and you get caught. I mean, that's part. You obviously weren't sneaky enough. Like, that's just part of it. It's like if they have it, it's part of the game. You gotta learn how to play with it. Like, it is what it is. Like, it's nothing we can do about what is part of the game. You just have to adjust and get better. Like,
yeah, the thing that just frustrates me is that I don't know how you can actually implement something like this, but there needs to be some kind of like common sense override for all of this stuff.
That's the point, though. I thought that was what the case was. Like, there was a rule that they put in place, like, and obviously Calipari made a big deal about it. So afterwards, it's just like, listen, we know what the letter of the law says, but when you go to these replays, if you see something if you see the right call that needs to be made, you make the right call.
Yeah, well, so that's the problem. Like they went and they reviewed it and they said, okay, this is what the laws of the game say should happen. The referee, that's why it's like not necessarily, like, it's not on the actual referees. It's like they're enforcing the rules. They're doing their job. It's the rules to me that are flawed in this situation. That, like, you can't just say, okay, everybody knows that this should be a basket for Iowa here, and this should not count for Arizona State. Like, you shouldn't have to put that on the refs and have them in that position where they can't just say, look, I don't want to give the wrong call here. Like, we're doing an override. Like, I don't know how you can actually do that.
I feel like that call is that's a call the referees can make. That's why they have a head referee, like, when these situations come up. So if they have this job, it's a very tough job. It's not easy. I mean, at the same time, I mean, you have to make not easy calls. You got to make difficult calls, and what the rule is, and then what you see is right. Like you have to make the right call. You can't sit there and like, oh well, the rule said he didn't hit him in the head, he hit him in the throat, so we got to make a different call. Like, no, you hit him with intent. So, and we saw the way he did it. He tripped him. Like he did this, he did that. These are calls where they can make the right calls, and they do something for the most part. Why not make the right call right there? So, like, I feel like that's a cop out. It's like, all right, we don't want to give you the answer we wanted. Like, we don't have an answer for you that you would like because you would be pissed. So we're just going to do this, and that's the rule. And then we're just going to keep running down the court and not talk to you.
It's frustrating, man. It's frustrating
man.
when it goes that way. All right, let's talk about the Big 12 SEC Challenge because that was fun, man. That was so much fun this weekend. I loved every single second of it. And I know like we were on yesterday with Robbie and like we were giving him shit about how it's like the real challenge and the Big 10 ACC Challenge doesn't really count. But the thing that I love about it is that like I thought I was going to hate having something like this in the middle of conference play. But I've completely come around, and I love the fact that it breaks up the monotony of having. Yeah, my initial thought was like, why do we want to do this? Like, this just fucks everything up. Like, this is not the way we do it. I was dumb. I admit it. That was a terrible take by me.
As a player, it's the best thing in the world. Like I told you, like my freshman year, I had a blast. Like, it's awesome to like play these games. Play these conference games, and then all of a sudden you see like 2 non-conference games in your conference schedule. It's just like, who are we playing? Like, who will we play? That who would our coach want to risk like our season on to play mid-conference? Oh, we play UCLA, who's like ranked, blah blah blah. Yeah, of course. We played Evan Turner my senior year. We played Ohio State, ranked top 10. We played like that's awesome to have in the middle of conference because now, I mean, if you get a really good game against a really good, I mean, that's a TV game. That's awesome. You get to play and everybody gets to see the game and you get to play against really good competition.
Oh yeah. Like it's a CBS game. You're playing on Natty TV, not just regular, not local.
Exactly. Nah, you're not. This isn't the Big East Network. This is shout out to the Big East Network. It's good people over there.
Yeah, so like I'm with you, man. I love it. I love that it breaks up I don't want to say monotony, but it's just something different. And I think we need to leave the Big Ten ACC Challenge where it is because I think one of the biggest problems that we have with college basketball is that there's not great games throughout the entire season, and it allows you to let it be, secondary in November and December. I think we need to get more quality non-conference games. Like the idea that all of these power conference teams are playing 6 or 7 teams that they're going to win, they're going to beat by 1,000. Like that it seems silly to me that we're wasting inventory on that many bye games. So I think finding a way to make more games relevant, especially ones that are going to be on campus, is always going to be a good thing. That said, nice. I love these late season big non-conference matchups, and this one was so much fun because these games are great. So we had Oklahoma beating up on Alabama. We had Texas Tech erasing a 7-point deficit in the final minute and then beating LSU by 5. We had Baylor closing down the Sharif Cooper show. We had Tennessee blowing out Kansas. We had Cade Cunningham hitting a game winner. There was that game in Morgantown that I'm contractually obligated to not mention to you on this podcast stream today.
That's good.
We had Missouri TCU that was just absolutely insane. So what was it? What was the biggest storyline coming out of that game? I'm going to open the floor to you and let you have the overreaction here on the Monday Overreactions podcast. It's on you, Day. It's on you.
If I had to pick Davion Harmon without, like, they were missing 2 starters.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hell of an achievement because Alabama's a really good team, and he went out there and he did his thing, and it wasn't just him. I mean, Harkless, everybody, they all played well, but like Oklahoma, Kruger does a great job, and I think he's starting to get a little bit more credit this year. Like I feel like his name gets slept on in the very beginning of the year until he starts winning games like this, and then everybody's, oh, Lon is this great coach. Like, yeah, he's always been a really good coach. I like his team, man. I like how hard they play, and I like how well they play together. So that was kind of like one of my favorite games this week. Like the game in general, like they play hard as hell that game.
Their guards, just the amount of ball pressure that they put on Alabama's perimeter players, and like part of this was kind of a matchup thing. Like what Alabama wants to do is basically have like Herb Jones be the guy that they run offense through,
yeah,
and then have a bunch of other guys that are kind of like combos and secondary ball handlers, and like Josh Primo's kind of like, I guess if you had to list somebody at the point, he would be listed at the point, but like the offense runs through Herb Jones. But like Herb's banged up. Like he's got a back thing. He's got a finger thing. His nose got bloodied in this game. Like he ain't right now.
Yeah, they beat him up, man. They beat him up.
And you know, and Oklahoma took advantage of that. They're fourth top 10 win in the month of January. Top 10
big.
Wins. That's crazy.
That's big, first and foremost. Second, like how hard was it for Alabama to keep Harmon out of the paint, like from driving around? Like he kind of like slashed them up. Like it was pretty the first half, like he kind of was getting wherever he wanted to find people to get to his shot, whatever. Like I was very impressed with the team, man. It was interesting.
Yeah, especially without two starters and their leading scorer. No Austin Reeves, who averages 17, 5, and 5. The big thing was like Alabama couldn't get big defensive rebounds that they needed to. Like it felt like every time when you're like, all right, we need to stop. Okay, they missed a shot, and it was that moment where it's like, just get the defensive rebound. Oklahoma got every single one of those, right? They picked up. I don't know if there's like any metric or any stat that I can give for that beyond just like it felt like every big rebound Oklahoma got. And still, despite all of that, if Jaden Shackelford hits like one of two layups down the stretch, or if Alex Reese hits one of those two wide open threes in the second half in like the final 4 minutes, like Alabama's got a really good chance of winning that game. So like I'm still even Robbie Hummel's going to hate on us forever for saying this, but I'm still in on Alabama, man. That is a really, really good basketball team.
Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of went in on Reese yesterday, and then I watched the game again. And I mean, at the end of the day, we know that's Bruner's natural, like that's his spot, but Reese is filling in that spot. And he I mean, if he's getting all those shots, you can't tell a guy not to shoot. Obviously you can tell a guy not to shoot 10 threes, but at the same time, I mean, he had a bunch of wide open ones that you can't just like, you can't tell your players not to shoot that if you want to keep them confident, if you want to keep the defense honest at a certain point in time, like, all right, maybe next game he won't shoot 10 threes and he won't go 3 for 10 or something like that. Maybe he'll go like 3 for 5, but you can't sit there and say, don't shoot it. Cause now like that's going to mess him up later on, especially if the way they play, like they pick and pop and he gets a lot of shots, like as far as flaring and fading. So, and he got a lot of shots, bro. It was, you got to shoot him. Yeah.
And, you know, I was listening to Duncan Robinson the other day when he was on Stu Douglas's pod on the Go Blue Stu podcast on the Field of 68 Network. And he was saying like, for him, the hardest thing for him to like kind of wrap his head around was that, like, if you pay any attention to one game samples in terms of shooting, like all you're going to do is fuck yourself up. Because he was like, the difference between being one of the greatest shooters in the NBA and being a guy that is going to play his way out of the league is like that one shot that you just mentioned, right? So Alex Reese was 3 for 10. If he goes 3 for 10 for every game, he's a 30% 3-point shooter, and he's terrible. You got to kick him off the team. You got to cut him. They pull his scholarship. He's gone. He's transferring to Alabama, Birmingham, right? But you make 4 out of 10 every game. All of a sudden, you're a 40% 3-point shooter. Like you're considered, if you're doing that at 6'9", oh, you know what? Maybe he's going to get NBA looks. Oh, he's the key to the team. Like blah blah blah, whatever it is. So 1-3 rattling out is changes everything. So you just can't you can't think about it. If you're Alex Reese, like you can't think about it beyond just like I took the shots that I'm supposed to take. I shot them well, and you just have to trust that eventually, like they're going to go in, right? There's a reason why you're out there, and it's why you have to view it as the threat of my shot is what matters, not whether or not it goes in. What I do to a defense simply by being out there. So
Exactly.
keep firing them up, Alex.
Yeah,
Get
Alex,
healthy,
keep shooting
Jordan.
the ball. Keep shooting the ball, bro.
All right, we got to touch on this other stuff. So Baylor, I got a stat for you. I dropped this on Goodman the other day. Baylor is the only team in KenPom's database so dating back to 2003, I believe, that is top 5 in the country in 3-point shooting percentage. They lead the nation at 43.4% 3-point shooting. They are 4th nationally in offensive rebounding percentage at 38.6%. They get 38.6% of their misses. And then they are 4th nationally in defensive turnover percentage.
Yes.
At 26, they force turnovers on 26% of their opponent's possessions, which is like, when it comes to like the analytics and like the stat nerd stuff of basketball, like that right there is the sweet spot.
That's winning. That's winning right there. It's like,
so like
you rebound it, you literally can stop what they're doing, and you make perimeter shots. Like,
yeah, that's the sweet spot. Like and if you want to go deeper into it, like this is getting a little bit into the weeds, but there was a guy named Dean Oliver who's considered like the OG of basketball analytics. And basically what he said was the 4 things that matter when it comes to determining how good you are your shooting percentages, your the amount of times you get to the free throw line, your rebounding, and your turnovers. And essentially what it means is like, okay, if you win the turnover battle and you force more turnovers, it means you're going to have more possessions, more possessions that end in shots and more possessions where they don't have that end in shots, right? If you win the rebounding battle, it means that you're going to have more opportunities on the offensive end, and it means that you're going to limit their extra opportunities on the defensive end. And then the shooting and free throw stuff is just like, that's how efficient are you at scoring points on those extra possessions that you do get. When it comes to Baylor, like they do the thing that you need to do to be efficient offensively better than anybody else in the country. And they also just so happen to create more possessions for themselves better than anybody else in the country via turnovers and offensive rebounds. So like, that's how you become a great team. You combine all of that with like having a couple of the best defenders. They're so much fun. They're so likable. I know that they're like a West Virginia rival for you,
but it's still fun to watch them play. It's still fun to watch them play.
And the best part about it is like all those kids are just, they're so likable. Like they're just, they got a kid named Everyday John. How about this? He said he hasn't even played 70 basketball games in his life. Everyday John.
Yeah, I heard like he just played. It's like his junior or senior in high school or something like that. Like I don't listen. More power to the Baylor team. They're a very unique team. A team I think that, depending on who they play, but I feel like they can basically beat any team in college. I think they can win a national championship. That's how talented they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about consistency scoring, like not just the 3-point shooting, like because they don't overshoot threes really. Like they shoot a nice amount of threes. They stay in their lane with 3-point shooting, and that's why they shoot so well. So they're like efficient. I just wonder about the consistent scoring. Like defensively, they're going to bring it. Like they're going to make sure they make it difficult for you. It's just a matter of if they're going to be consistent finishing around the basket and obviously making jump shots. If they can continue to shoot at this rate, I mean, they'll win. I really wonder about their offense as a whole. Like shooting, their free throw shooting isn't the greatest. It's not bad, but it's not what it should be. And I mean, they have their things that they need to work on, but I still think they could win a national championship. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
In this pool this year, definitely. Like it's not that hard to pick for Baylor.
Yeah, so we talked about Texas Tech, and we talked about what was it, Florida, West Virginia on the recording that we did on Saturday. So I don't think we need to kind of rehash any of that, but I do just want to quickly mention like David McCormick finished with 17 points on Saturday. But here's my thing. Like, I hate.
You remember what I said though? If he's a leading scorer at the end of the game, and regardless if he shoots the ball well or not, I'm always happy to see David McCormick do well. If he's a leading scorer for the game, especially the way that stat sheet looked, he was like the leading scorer by a little bit, like not a little bit, by a good bit. I didn't expect them to win the game. Like I
Yeah,
barely
so-
caught the game.
That's my thing with it, is that when the least efficient thing that you can do on a basketball court is to throw the ball into the post and let somebody go one-on-one with their back to the basket. If I am game planning against Kansas, what I want Bill Self to do on every single possession is to throw the ball into David McCormick, who's like is shooting like 48% from the floor or something like that, and let him try to go one-on-one to the post. That's what I want them to do on every single possession, right? It's just, to me, like that you're playing into everybody else's hands. And if you go by the data on hooplens.com, when Kansas does not have either David McCormick or Mitch Lightfoot on the floor, so when they're going with like their full small ball lineup, they are 15 points per 100 possessions better than their opponents. So I don't understand the infatuation with having that big guy out there. I get that Bill Self, like, he knows way more about basketball than I do and way more than I'm ever going to know. But it drives me crazy seeing him on the floor, because I'm just like, that plays into the hands of everybody that you're going up against. He's not good enough defensively to make up for it, and he doesn't do enough other things. So there are going to be games where he goes 8 for 12 and scores 17 points. But I think that that's why you're losing by 19 at Tennessee. That's why you're giving up 80 points to a team that couldn't break like 60 for the last month.
And this is like the thing that kills me about it is like I said, I love seeing Dave McCormick go out there and get buckets, and I like to see Kansas do well for the most part, unless they're playing against my Mountaineers. But you can't, like, they got punished on the glass. Like, it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't start Jalen Wilson anyway. I think he had like 2 boards or something, like 1 board. What is it?
McCormick had 2 boards.
In a 33-minute game at 6'10", 6'11". It's just like, of course, it's good to see him get the baskets, but at that size, especially when the other team is smaller, you need to find a way to impose your will. And I'm not talking to McCormick. It's just more like Kansas, like having him on the floor is more or less you need to get him to impose his will, like for rebounding and other things to affect the court, to protect the basket and rebound. Like, it's hard to have him out there and like you have to be a step slower because other teams are going to be basically playing small ball. So I personally don't think small ball, like you matching small ball with small ball always works. And I know you hate the term small ball, but it's just, I feel like if you have somebody that's big enough that can keep up, it neutralizes it altogether. But it also, that person that's big enough to keep up has to impose the will. Like, you can have small ball and with LeBron and at the 4, we're talking about LeBron and then this Kansas team, but still, like LeBron at the 4 and AD as a 5, and AD can play the 4. And you can even go smaller, but at the same time, like AD can keep up with 4s and 5s and 3s and things like that. So it doesn't matter. Like he's big, but he's also able to defensively move and be that versatile. He can impose his will in a game defensively and rebound and do all the things as well as score, take advantage of mismatches. This is what Kansas is kind of missing. Like, I'm with Bill Self. If you want to play big or you want to keep one big guy out there, please, that's awesome to me. Just to make sure that he's out there, like he's a presence though. Mm-hmm. Like not just like once in a while. And I'm not trying to kill McCormick, man. Like he's gotten better from the beginning of the season to this point in the season. I can honestly say that. I think he'll be better next year. Like it's not like I'm sitting there like I lost absolute faith in David McCormick. No, it's not even that. It's just like for what he's giving you right now, he doesn't have a big enough presence for what they're expecting him to have. Like, it's not showing. So I don't know what they can do. Like, I feel like it's very tough. Like, it's just like you're gonna go Jalen Wilson at the center completely. We saw that this year already. It wasn't.
I thought it worked. I thought it worked pretty well. Like that's how
until he went cold. Until he went cold.
But it's like
it's like he went cold. So
I hear you. Look, trust me. I hear you.
Yeah.
But like at some point you just kind of have to trust that like eventually those shots are gonna come back and go down. I don't know. I don't. It's just frustrating to see him like do the same thing over and over and over again when you kind of know what the end result is going to end up being. But whatever. Like, let's move on. We can argue about David McCormick later. I want to close with a little bit of talk about the ACC. Virginia had a pretty epic collapse. They were up by 10 in the second half at Virginia Tech. They were up 42-34 with like 10 or so minutes left, and Virginia Tech immediately went on a 29-5 run. I think they ended up winning by 15 or so. I don't remember what the final score was, but it ended up looking like a blowout. Florida State went into Atlanta and just got whipped up by
those two guards. Jeez, what is it, Alvarado?
Jose, that dude is so tough, man. Jose Alvarado.
Oh, I love him. I like his game. I like his game a lot.
Like first and foremost, like tough New York City kid. You always gotta love tough New York City kids. 2, like he's got the flow and he's embracing the flow, man. Like it looks great. 3, like he's got that, that New York City, that like the New York City accent with the Hispanic twang. It's just like, it's got like where he just talks like so fast. And 4, like I did a big story on him last year because he had a daughter in, I want to say like December of last season. And she's so adorable. Like she's on all of the broadcasts and she's just so cute. And I'm just like how can you not root for this kid?
Nah, you definitely want to see him do well, man. You got
New York City tough. You got the flow, embracing the flow, and you got a cute little baby girl that's showing up to every single one of the games. Like how does anybody not love him?
Nah, man, he played amazing. You know the thing about what he did? Who was the other guy? It was him and DeVoe. I felt like the way he played early in the game gave DeVoe so much more confidence to go out there and play, just like watching the game. And he dunked everything, bro. He dunked everything the entire game. Like it was very surprising to see Florida State not do as well defensively. They tried a little bit of everything. They tried to press. They tried to they did a little bit of everything. It didn't work out. They didn't speed them up the right way because they sped them up and had them going downhill, and then they were going downhill and finding shots. And Georgia Tech even threw like in some like a matchup like 3-2 zone type deal that kind of like completely halted Florida State. So I actually was really impressed with Georgia Tech.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really tough. They got guards that are winners. Moses Wright is as good as any big guy in the country. Like I'm not ready to say that they're the best team or like in the conversation for the best team in the ACC, but like they might be top 4.
Can I ask you this question? Can I ask you this question? So Georgia Tech right now looking at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're 7th in the ACC. If they finish the season 7th, they have how many ranked wins? I think this is their first ranked win this year. Oh no, they beat Clemson too. They beat Clemson. They beat
Clemson and they beat Kentucky, but neither of those are going to look good by the end of the season.
Yeah, they're not going to look good at all by the end of the season. But I still think they have at least one more ranked win than Duke has. Do you think Duke still goes to the tournament? I was on. I can't remember. I don't want to butcher his name. I was on the locker room with him and Jason Frazier yesterday.
John Fanta.
Yeah, my guy Fanta. I was on there with Fanta, and Fanta and Frazier were really convinced that Duke is just going to go to the tournament just because they're Duke, and I was just like, without a top 25 win, not even like a bad team that was a top 25 at one point, and then they beat them while they were ranked. Like they don't have a rank, and chances are, I think I looked at the schedule earlier, they won't play another ranked team.
They get Virginia. They get Virginia once, right?
I didn't see Virginia on their what's the name as well, bro. Like I didn't see Virginia as a finish. They have to play Virginia.
I mean, here's the thing about it, right?
Yep, they have UVA on there. They got to beat UVA for their run.
At the end of the day, the way that these brackets get made is there are 10 human beings sitting in a room looking at a list of numbers. And what's going to happen is they're going to find a way to talk themselves into Duke. right? There's no way to get over like any kind of cognitive biases that you have and that you hold when you're in that room. Like, I know, I'm like,
Sure.
it's not
Facts.
like I'm not even like I'm not even trying to like take shots at it. But it's like when you're in that room and your decision is, okay, do I go with Duke, who has Coach K and Jalen Johnson and this and that and the third, or like Georgia Tech? Right? If you're comparing those two, where you're like, well, Duke hasn't been that great, but they have these lottery picks. They're really good. They could have won these games, this, that, and the third. Georgia Tech lost to Mercer, second game of the season. They lost to Georgia State, first game of the season. So, like, that stuff is going to come into play. And to me, like, that's what, like, you're not relying on wins and losses, right? You're not relying strictly on metrics. You're relying on human beings in those rooms to make decisions based off of what they're saying. And that to me is always, that's
hurts my heart.
That's why it's always like, it's a little bit frustrating that we have all of these metrics that can determine the things that these people are trying to determine. And we're still just going to let 10 people in that room go figure it out. It's, you know,
it actually sounds crazy when you just say it like that. Like,
yeah. Like it's
insane.
It's the only sport on the planet where you have people selecting what the matchups are going to be in the event to determine the champion. Think about that. In the NBA, it's based off of your record, right?
Record, yeah.
Well, I guess let me take that back. College football does the same thing, but like, it tells you how fucked up college sports are at the end of the day. All right. So let me just ask you this about Duke, though, because I do think it's something that's worth discussing and worth bringing up. They beat the brakes off of Clemson. Jalen Johnson is finally playing well. He quite literally murdered a dude on Saturday. Did you see that dunk?
Yeah, that dunk was really, really good. It looked bad as soon as the guy bumped into his like right leg. But then it was like, damn, bro, like this like scream like I want to be on a poster.
Like I'm watching him run, right? And I'm like, there's no way you're not gonna, oh my God, why would you do that? Like and here's the thing, he went about it the worst possible way. Right. Like, so for people that haven't seen it, like Jalen Johnson is a right-hander coming down the right side of the floor. It's basically like a 1-on-0 break, jumps off his left foot with his right hand, like with his right side going towards the baseline to go and try to dunk. The dude is running from the other direction, and he also jumps off of his left foot with his right hand. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to block a shot when you do that. Like, it's the worst. It's an impossible angle to put your body in, right? You're banking on your ability to like hit the ball as it's going by like this instead of like getting your hand in front of it. And here's the other part, like Jalen Johnson can quite literally jump like 3 feet higher than that kid. Like there's what are you doing? You have no chance of doing anything other than getting utterly humiliated by going and trying to block that shot.
He curled up afterwards too, and then felt like it was like, damn, bro. Like, you know who I really feel bad with? I don't even feel bad for that kid. So I can't remember who it was.
How can you feel bad for that? He brought it on himself.
He brought it on himself. I won't even argue that. That was a terrible. And here's the thing. First, I felt bad when it happened. I was just like, "Damn, bro, that you could have avoided that today." Like you walked into. You ran into that. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. That's the funniest part about it is like, it wasn't even a good hustle play, right? Like, it would have been a good hustle play if he fouled him and didn't let him get his shot off. Like, he let him get an and-one. He let him get an and-one. He's like, I'm going to –
go ahead. My bad.
No, I was just going to say he sprinted the length of the floor to give Duke an extra point and get himself put on a poster on every Instagram highlight feed on the planet, on every TV show on the planet. Like it was all over like the SVP Sports Center. You know, it's all over. Like it's still on the front page of ESPN.com if you go there right now. I still see it popping up. Like if you scroll Instagram, like
I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking.
It's still popping up. And this kid, it was so unnecessary. Like. What are you doing, man?
I keep saying poor guy. I don't feel sorry for him.
I don't feel sorry for him at all either. Like, you brought that on yourself.
I feel sorry for Amir Sims, bro.
Whatever.
He's putting up solid performances, man. And I just feel bad that it's just like they're being getting punched in the mouth. I would say the last I mean, now they gotta win like 2 games ago, but like they've been getting punched in the mouth, bro.
Yeah,
I feel bad for him, bro. He's played well. And
yeah. I mean, they've been embarrassed, man. Like they've been, but it's at the end of the day, like I do. I feel for him.
Yeah.
And there's not much you could do when when your program gets hit with COVID pauses. Like it just fucking sucks.
They Fanta and Frazier kind of painted a picture for me. Like, you have Duke. I mean, you have Clemson as the team that they don't really have a prestige of of winning games, and then Duke has this prestige, and this was like a nice game for Duke to build himself back up. Like the Duke players saw Clemson and just thought like they saw blood. Like basically it was just like, oh, we're gonna kill this team. It was a pick me up basically.
Yep, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I mean, I guess if Duke figures it out, they're probably as talented as anyone in the conference. But like, I kind of want to see him beat someone for real and blow somebody out for real. like is in Clemson. So
a team.
It is what it is. I'm going to leave you with this. All right. This is a tweet on Saturday night from Brenna Green. Brenna Green is she's a reporter that covers Gonzaga in Spokane. This is what she said. Mark Few says the team was trying to get through this Pepperdine game, and that in the next 24 to 48 hours, they'll be trying to figure out putting together a non-conference game that is feasible for next week. So moral of the story, stay tuned.
Oh my God. I don't care about this damn game unless it's Baylor. Man. Don't waste my time. If it's not Baylor, I don't care. I feel like they're just gonna just pick somebody just so they can say, well, we during our conference schedule, we played a ranked team. I don't care who it is. If it's not Baylor, I don't care. It could be Minnesota, it could be Iowa again. I don't care. It has to be Baylor.
This is
yeah. Don't play with me, bro.
Baylor, man. This has got to be Baylor. Like,
bro, listen,
it's got to be.
Don't play with me, bro. Don't play with me.
Don't play with my heart, man. Don't play with my heartstrings.
Please don't, bro. Please don't.
All right, man. Deshaun, it's been fun.
Yes, sir.
We'll be back on Thursday night for another edition of the Beers and Ball live stream. We will probably around 10 o'clock again. We'll see what happens. See what time the kids go to bed. See what time we can crack open those first brews. Let me get that right. I'm all out of it today.
Don't beat yourself up, man.
Oh, I know. I gotta go shovel some more. So wish me luck. I'll talk to you later, bro.
All right, bro.